Before I dive into this story, please subscribe and like this video and listen to my story till the end. And let me know in the comments which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. This story isn't easy to tell. It's the kind that leaves a bitter taste, the kind you replay at night when silence gets too loud. I'm Greg, 53, and my wife Lisa, 54. We have 2 daughters, Claire, 30, and Jenna, 27. Claire has always been the quiet storm. She's brilliant, calm, private, like the eye of a hurricane that never truly passes. Jenna? She's the spark, laughter in every corner, charm in every room. She could make a rock feel welcome. Our family was normal, or so I believed. We weren't perfect, who is? But there was love. There were dinners, holidays, and enough laughter to make the silent moments feel earned. But then life ripped through us. 2 years ago, Claire lost everything in a blink. Her husband, Nathan, they'd been married 5 years, and their baby boy, Owen, were killed in a car crash. Claire survived. Just her. I still remember the night I got the call. My wife collapsed to the floor. And Claire? She didn't cry at first. She just stared at the wall like even her soul had gone quiet. She moved back in with us for a while, barely speaking, barely existing. No therapy, no visitors. Just silence and shadows. We gave her space. What else could we do? 6 months passed. Then more. Slowly, she got her own place, went back to work. But the warmth never returned. She stopped coming to family dinners. Birthdays passed without a text. It was like she lived in a different reality. I tried to be patient. I really did. But when someone's stuck in grief for that long, it starts to feel like the rest of us are trapped too. Then came last weekend. Jenna had just gotten engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Marcus. Great guy, treats her like a queen. His family threw a big outdoor party. Casual but elegant, all smiles, music, catered food, heartfelt toasts. The kind of day you want to bottle up and keep forever. Surprisingly, Claire RSVP'd yes. I won't lie, we were shocked. Jenna was thrilled. She said having her big sister there would mean everything. Maybe, just maybe, we thought this would be the day Claire turned a corner. But when she arrived, she looked like she hadn't smiled in years. She sat at a side table, drink in hand, barely meeting anyone's eyes. People tried to talk to her. Cousins, friends, even the bartender cracked a few jokes. Claire gave one-word answers. Sometimes none at all. I could see people glancing at her, whispering. Even Jenna kept looking over, uncertain and hurt. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been at a celebration, but one person's presence felt like a rain cloud over the whole thing? What would you do? Ignore it? Or confront it? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. I walked over and asked Claire quietly if something was wrong. She didn't look at me. Just murmured, "It's Nathan's birthday today." I froze. I had forgotten. Honest to God, I had. She didn't say anything else. Just turned her eyes back to the cup in her hand. And that silence, it hit me harder than any scream could have. But in that moment I thought, why come at all if you knew today would crush you? Why bring that weight into your sister's joy? What happened next? Well, let's just say it changed everything. And it's the moment I can't stop replaying in my head. In part 2, I'll tell you exactly what I said to Claire, and how that one sentence might have destroyed our relationship for good. You won't want to miss what happens next. If you missed part 1, make sure to go back and listen, because what happens now only makes sense if you felt the slow build of a moment ready to explode. So there we were. Claire, my oldest, sitting at a party she clearly didn't want to be at, surrounded by laughter, music, toasts, and people dancing. All while she sat still as stone. I kept trying to enjoy myself, but every time I glanced her way, it was like watching someone quietly suffocate. And Jenna, my younger daughter, glowing in a white sundress, was stealing glances at her sister every few minutes. She'd flash this smile to guests and then turn back to Claire with eyes full of worry. That joy Jenna was supposed to feel? It was cracking. After the speeches, as people mingled over cake and champagne, I walked over to Claire again. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I leaned down and said, "You need to stop sulking. This is Jenna's day. Being hung up on his birthday doesn't mean anything anymore. She looked up at me, like I'd slapped her across the face. Her eyes, wide, hurt, disgusted, like I'd just ripped open every scar she'd been stitching shut for 2 years. She stood. Slowly. Controlled. Then, loud enough for people around us to hear, she said, "You're all so selfish. Every one of you." There was. I stood frozen. The silence after her words felt like a siren. I replied, not shouting but sharp, "No. You're being selfish. You came here knowing today would be hard, and now you're ruining this for your sister because you can't manage your emotions." She didn't say another word. She grabbed her purse and walked out. Just like that. No goodbye. No explanation to anyone. By the time I made it outside, her car was already gone. That ride home? Silent. Jenna left with Marcus, and it was just me and Lisa. My wife sat with her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. When we pulled into the driveway, she let out a sigh that sounded like heartbreak. She said, maybe it wasn't the best time to say it like that. I asked her if she disagreed with what I said. She shook her head. No. I just think, the truth could have waited until after the cake. But waiting meant letting the rest of the night unravel. And people were noticing. I felt embarrassed. Like we were on display, and Claire's grief was some sort of awkward centerpiece. The next morning I texted Claire, "Hope you got home safe. We should talk." No reply. Lisa called that night. Straight to voicemail. Jenna tried 3 days later. Nothing. Just silence. Quick pause here. Have you ever said something in the moment you thought needed to be said, only to regret not the words, but the timing? Tell me in the comments. This next part, it made me question everything. Because Jenna, sweet, happy, vibrant Jenna, sat down across from me the next day with her smile gone. She said, "Dad, I feel like Claire made my engagement party about her." She looked hurt in a way that punched through me. Like she'd been holding in guilt and grief that didn't belong to her. She said, "I didn't want to say anything during the party because I was afraid it would turn into a scene. But it already did. And not because of me." That's when it hit me. For 2 years, we had all been walking on eggshells around Claire. Nobody wanted to hurt her. Nobody wanted to trigger the grief. We didn't decorate as much. We avoided jokes about kids. We even canceled vacations. All of it, to keep her from falling deeper into the dark. But somehow, none of that brought her closer. And now, the one time we didn't bend the world around her grief, it exploded anyway. In part 3, I'll tell you how we started seeing the cracks that had been growing for years. Quiet resentment, missed milestones, and the night that made me wonder, was this about grief or something deeper? Stay with me. It only gets harder from here. You know how sometimes, when something finally breaks, you realize it was never fully solid to begin with? That's what this started to feel like. Jenna, my younger daughter, tried to brush things off after Claire left the party. But I could tell. She was angry. Quiet in a way that didn't suit her. She said something I haven't forgotten since. "I don't think Claire likes me anymore. Not since the accident." There was no malice in her voice. Just a quiet ache. I didn't know what to say. Because deep down, I think she was right. The truth is, Claire and Jenna were never best friends, but they tried. They were so different. Claire settled down young. Marriage, motherhood, while Jenna chased college, a career, a big social life. And when the accident happened, it was like time froze for Claire. But for Jenna, life kept going. She got a promotion. Claire didn't show up to dinner. She made a photo gift for everyone last Christmas. Claire flipped hers over and left it face down on the table. We all noticed. But no one said a word. We tiptoed. We made room for grief. We let holidays go quiet. And after 2 years, it felt like we weren't making room for her anymore. We were making space around a ghost. One night, not long after the party, my wife and I sat in silence on the couch. The TV was on, but neither of us was watching. She finally said, "Maybe we failed both of them." I asked what she meant. She said, "We gave Claire all the sympathy in the world, but we forgot to protect Jenna's joy." That stuck with me. Because in our house, it had become almost a rule. Don't laugh too loud. Don't plan too big. Don't make it too happy, or Claire might feel worse. That's not family. That's a hostage situation. We reached out again. Claire didn't respond. Let me pause and ask you, have you ever watched someone disappear in plain sight? Like they're still alive, still breathing but gone? Drop a comment. I read every single one. Sometimes hearing someone else say it helps more than you think. I kept thinking back to the moment at the party. Did I say it too harshly? Did I cross a line? Or did I say what no one else would? Because this wasn't just about grief anymore. It was about resentment, about time, about how everyone else had pressed pause so one person didn't have to feel left behind. I had tried. I cleaned up the crash site after the funeral. Picked up flowers, notes, candles people left. Took photos of everything. Put them in a folder, thinking maybe one day she'd want them. She never asked. When she moved into her apartment, I bought her a new couch. Paid her rent for 3 months. We invited her to every dinner, every holiday, every update. Most of the time, she just said, maybe, and then didn't show. It's been 2 years of maybe, and now? Jenna's engagement is tied to that one moment. That one conversation. That quiet eruption in the middle of a celebration. She still had a good night, but she told me later, she doesn't think Claire will come to the wedding. And I'll be honest? I don't know if she should. In part for, everything shifts. I visit Claire's apartment to try and fix things, but what she says to me, and what she hands back, shattered what little hope I had left. You need to hear what came next. It changes everything. If you've made it this far, thank you. Really. These aren't just stories, they're echoes of real heartbreak, the kind you feel long after the moment's passed. After the party, after days of silence, I decided to go see Claire. No texts. No calls. I just showed up. She didn't invite me in. But she opened the door. Just wide enough. She looked tired, not in a physical way, but emotionally drained. Like someone who's been underwater too long and has finally stopped trying to swim. I told her Jenna wanted her at the engagement dinner. That she didn't have to do much, just show up. Sit beside us. Let her presence speak, even if her words didn't. Claire didn't say anything at first. Then she said, I'm not ready. I don't want to be part of this right now. I felt my chest tighten. So I pulled out the small box I'd brought with me. Inside was a bracelet, simple, elegant. Something Jenna would have loved. I told Claire, if you can't be there, maybe give this to her. A gesture. Something small. It'll mean the world. She stared at it. Silent. Then she gently closed the box and handed it back. I'm not comfortable being put in that role, she said quietly. That moment. That sentence. It felt like 1,000 tiny cuts. I drove home gripping the steering wheel tighter than I should have. My jaw locked. My heart heavy. Later, I told Jenna what happened. Told her Claire wouldn't be at the dinner. Wouldn't give the bracelet. Wouldn't try. Jenna didn't cry. She just went silent. Then she said, why can't she just let me be happy? I didn't have an answer. What do you say to that? That her sister's sadness weighs more than her joy? That some people drown, and the rest of us are just expected to hold our breath? It wasn't fair. It still isn't. Jenna told the family Claire was no longer involved in any wedding planning. No dress fittings. No shower. No dinner prep. Just an invitation. If she wanted to show up, fine. But no more waiting on Claire's readiness. Lisa, my wife, didn't argue. Not then. But later that night, she looked at me with tired eyes and said, we're pushing her away. I snapped. I told her Jenna had been sidelining herself for 2 years. That this moment, this joy, this engagement, it was long overdue. That maybe, just maybe, it was time for the rest of us to live again. But things didn't calm down after that. They got worse. Jenna's fiancé, Marcus, pulled me aside during lunch one weekend. He asked, what's going on with Claire? Why do you talk about her like she's a problem to solve? That hit harder than I expected. I told him he hadn't been around long enough to understand. That he didn't know the history. The years of silence. The pain. The walking on eggshells. He said something I still can't stop thinking about. Maybe that distance is why I can see it clearly. Have you ever been so close to something, You couldn't see the damage until someone on the outside pointed it out? Drop your thoughts below. Seriously, I want to hear them. This next part, it cracked our family open like glass. Then came the hospital. Claire had a medical emergency. Not life-threatening, but serious enough. Lisa rushed to the hospital immediately. She didn't call me until hours later. By then, I was already dressed for an engagement event with Jenna and Marcus's extended family. Lisa said there was no world where she could sit at a dinner table and smile while our daughter was in a hospital bed. I told her I could handle both. Check on Claire and still support Jenna. She didn't say anything. Just looked at me. That kind of look where disappointment doesn't even need words anymore. Jenna still wanted to go to the event. But Marcus, bless him, pulled her aside. Asked how she could celebrate while her sister was in a hospital bed. And that's when everything blew up. Jenna snapped. I've spent 2 years lowering my voice, shrinking my life, tiptoeing around Claire's grief. I'm done. She stormed out. Marcus canceled the event within hours. He told her he needed space. That what he saw scared him. And Jenna, heartbroken and furious, blamed Claire. She showed up at the hospital, eyes red, voice shaking, and said, "You've stolen every moment from me without even trying." Lisa lost it. She told Jenna to leave. No discussion. She stood between our daughters like a wall. And I stood still. I said nothing. I watched everything crumble. In the final part 5, the fallout hits hard. One daughter blocks me. The other spirals. And my wife hands me papers I never saw coming. Stick around. What happens next is the moment I realize the family I thought I was protecting no longer exists. It's strange, the quiet after chaos. The house didn't feel peaceful. It felt hollow. Like something had collapsed inside it without making a sound. After the hospital blow-up, Claire blocked me. Not just on text, on everything. I only realized because I tried to call her the next day. Straight to voicemail. Again and again. Lisa, my wife, was barely speaking to me. She moved through the house like a ghost, only answering when absolutely necessary. The weight of everything was in her eyes. Jenna? She was unraveling. The wedding? On hold. Marcus said he needed space. That watching Jenna explode at her sister, in a hospital bed no less, changed how he saw her. Said it scared him. And Jenna blamed me. She said, "You ruined everything by making it about your version of family." Maybe she was right. I kept trying to fix things, as if there was some lever I could pull to reset it all. I even messaged Marcus privately, trying to smooth things over. Told him I was just a father doing his best to hold peace. He left me on read. Jenna found out. She said I overstepped. That I made it worse. Then came the dinner. My brother's birthday. Just a small family thing. I made a speech at the end. Nothing dramatic. Just said something like, "I miss the ones who aren't here, but we'll keep moving." I didn't name Claire. But everyone knew. Jenna rolled her eyes. Lisa left early. A cousin pulled me aside after and said, "You're not helping anymore. You're just keeping the fire alive." Then came the final crack. Lisa and her sister were in the kitchen, chatting about Claire, about how good she looked lately. That she seemed to be reconnecting with people. Going out again. Smiling in photos. I said, almost without thinking, I just hope she's not faking it for Instagram. Lisa stared at me. I'll never forget it. Then she told me Claire was dating someone. Someone she met during her hospital stay. I asked questions. Too many. What kind of patient? What was he in for? Isn't that dangerous, dating someone you met during a crisis? Lisa didn't answer. Just said, "It's not your place to dig anymore." I disagreed. Strongly. That night, I sent Claire a message. I didn't insult her. I thought I was being honest. I said, "I heard you're seeing someone. Please make sure this isn't trauma bonding. You just got out of the hospital. Please don't mistake motion for healing." Her reply came fast. Just one message. "Stop pretending you ever knew what I needed. Leave me alone. Don't contact me again." Blocked. Everywhere. Lisa packed a bag that night. She didn't say she was leaving for good. Just said, "I need space. I can't do this anymore." She stayed at her sister's. When she came back a few days later, she handed me a document. Not a full divorce filing, but the first step. She said, "I can't keep living in a house where every conversation feels like a campaign. Where love comes with rules." Jenna came by a week later, crying. She said she didn't know where she stood with Marcus anymore. Said she was angry at everyone. At me, at Claire, at herself. She said, "Why is it always about salvaging something that's already burned down?" I had no answer. I still don't. The only sounds left in this house are the clock ticking and the echoes of what used to be. And the thing I keep turning over in my head? That final text from Claire. "Stop pretending." Maybe that's exactly what I was doing. Pretending that being honest would heal. Pretending that if I pushed hard enough, everyone would catch up. Pretending that calling out grief would make it go away. I drove them all away. Tell me in the comments. And if you've dealt with something similar, share your story. You're not alone. Subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. Because that's what this is now, not just a story of loss, but of consequence. I thought I was holding the family together, but maybe I was just holding on to a version of them that never existed in the first place.